Okay, we're about to go live. Okay, we're live. So can you please check that? Is it good?
Yep, I'm refreshing right now. Yep, we are live and good to go.
Okay, so guys, welcome everybody. Today's roundtable is our topic is gonna be how do you handle angry customers? My name is Ricardo. I'm here with Soel and Pulley, and the three of us we're gonna be hosting tonight's roundtable. So yeah, we really want to hear your stories, and experiences, any like literally anything that you would like to share about angry customers, and also how do you deal with them? Because we know it's so difficult to deal with an angry client, especially especially I think that the most difficult part whenever like you have an angry customer is like whenever it comes out of nowhere. But yeah, like I would really love to hear your stories. This is just the idea that I have, but I'm not a bounce house business owner. So I would love to hear from all of you guys that, well, you know this market way, way better than what I do. So yeah, anyone has any experience that I would like to share? Not everybody at once. Uh,
Well, if you want me, I can share one. Actually, I
awesome,
just
Pulley.
came to work with Zoel and Tariq, and it was, I think, like my second month working. And this was this lady that rented a bounce house and I think a tent. And when I was doing the manager survey to her, she was like kind of rude when I was asking for the address and everything, just confirming some data, and she was rude. I told Zoel, and she was like, "Yeah, she rented last year," and I remember her being a little rude. The manager survey is to confirm all the items on her quote and the address and everything, so we don't go wrong with that. And at the end, the day of her event, we delivered the bounce house. Tariq went to deliver that bounce house, and at the middle of the event, she started yelling at Tariq by the phone that it wasn't the correct bounce house, and I think she was swearing and stuff. Even her kid that was with her on the phone was asking Tariq, "Will you let her talk to you like that?" And afterwards, we talked about this and we blacklisted her. Yeah, second year being rude with to us, it was enough.
Yeah, like, like yeah, we really don't need that type of people. I think no one
Yeah.
has. Anyone has any story similar to this, like that maybe like a client complained like in this way, like they were like to Polly and Tariq?
Yes, I have one.
Oh, please share
Um,
some.
I think I already talked a little bit about it last time. So the customer was one to they was come in and they want to book a water slide, but then because the water slide a little bit too expensive, so she ended up booking the combo. So I was like, okay, cool. And then we agreed with the price and everything, and then um 1 week before the event, she was like, text me. And she's like, can you add two tables and 12 chair? And I was like, yeah, sure. So because of the we add the table and the chair, the prices went up, and then the tax and the fee and everything is also adjust accordingly. And then she was like, okay, cool. And then I called her and I just want to confirm with her. It's like, okay, the price have been changed because, you add more items and stuff like that. While we're on the phone, she's like, oh yeah, cool. I asked her like, are you ready for the payment? She's like, yes, I am. And then I guess the total price is almost $500. And she's like, can I just pay $200 for now? And I said, yes, sure. So she ended up paying $200. And then one day before the event date, she called back and she's like, hey, I just realized this is not the price that we're talking about. And I was like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. You even make a $200 extra for the deposit. What do you mean? It's not what we're talking about. And then she started to mention like, wait, your bounce house, we were talking about like a 110, something like that. And it's like, no, we never have any conversation about 110, but I do have a $110 regular bounce house. And Long story short, she arguing with me and she really mad and she bring her husband in. And then her husband was like, "Yeah, we never talk about there's no $500. This mean like nobody would pay $500 just for the bounce house." I was like, "Yes, sir. That's what I was talking with your wife. I don't know you were there or not, but he was like, "Yeah, I was there. I was listening what you guys talking. She have a speaker phone on." I was like, "No, sir. I don't know where you get this story from about the $110 and but we never have any conversation about it. The first unit that she come in, she was asking for water slide and we never talk about anything about 110. And he was like, "No, man, I was sitting there and I was listening to the whole conversation." And I was like, "Okay, sir, nothing we can do about it." And I just like stay calm and, be nice to him and her. But then long story short, he was like, "You know what? Don't need to talk with this guy." He told his wife like that. Let's just hang up and then we're gonna just put through the bank. So long story short, he hang up the phone and yeah, and they
Okay.
did they did dispute the money to the bank. And I don't know, the bank is do something that's sketchy and it's not fair. I submit all their inflatable office. Um, every time that you make changes on your system, it track every single lot. And I submit it into the Square and everything to the bank, but they still um let the customer win. And but I was when they asking for a refund, and I did give them a refund, the whole money back, only $50 cancellation fee because I do a $1 deposit
Mhm.
for like initial $1 deposit. But long story short, I was refund $150 back, and I only keep $50, but then they went through the bank and they just put that $50 and they get back, and then yeah. At the end of the day, I lost the dispute and I called the Square and explained the whole story. And there's only a few things you can do here. I know it's only $50, but you can file a police report. She kind of like stealing money from you, kind of. The Square recommended to do that, or I can just take her to the court. And he mentioned that, okay, yeah, you're gonna have to pay court costs and all kind of stuff, wage loss. But long story short, if you win the case at the court, then the customer gonna have to pay everything. Now
Yeah.
his funny thing on the 4th July, that same person messaged me through inflatable office through my website, like, "Do you have a water slide available?" And I was like, "Yes, I do have one available." Well, here's the thing. She used her own name, her full name again, but then she used a different phone number. And she tried to book a water slide. But guess what? I checked up the price. So for example, the water slide only $400 and I'm trying to get my $50 back. So I say $500. If she book it, then I'll get my $50 back. But if you don't, then yeah, I don't care. I don't really want her business anyway. By the way, how do you blacklist customer? I would like to know that. And I would put her in the first one in my blacklist.
So for blacklisting,
Hmm.
you go into inflatable office and
Hmm.
then here, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing here.
In
We
contacts.
You'll go to events and then customers.
Yeah.
And then once you're in customers, go ahead and search for the customer you're looking for. And right
Hmm.
at the top, it'll show you, it'll give you a box next to or blacklist. And you
Hmm.
just check that box, and pretty much they can't call you, they can't book on their own, none of that. They'd pretty much have to reach out to you via a different number.
Hmm.
But then what's nice about that too is if you keep scrolling down under the customer's info, there's a
Hmm.
section for customer notes, which should be for only you and your team to see. And
Hmm.
you can kind of put the reason like this customer was super rude, or this customer stole from me, or this customer, whatever. That way you at least have context in the future as to why they're blacklisted in the first place.
Uh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go through that. But yeah, that's the only angry customer that I have. She was just s- they just Here's the thing, just be honest if the customer cannot afford it, like just, hey, I didn't realize it was overpriced. Is there any we can change to a different unit? By the way, I was do 2 day for the price of one, and the total it was like almost one, I think like 480 something dollar. And yeah, and that price is for 2 day rental. And yeah, she's still not happy about it. But and I mentioned to her, I was like, if you find any company that can do two day for that price on a combo, and they have insurance, they have license and everything, safety certified like my company, please let me know. Please let me know because I do research in my areas and stuff like that. I know I am new, but yeah, I
Yeah.
I do a lot of research for that.
Yeah, I actually felt that this customer was like trying to push you into give like a free service. I don't know, like that's actually like right now that I was hearing the whole story, I really feel like she was just pushing you in order like like to put a lot of pressure on you. So you could be like, okay, yeah, you know what, get the water slide for just $100. Like I really feel that that was what she wanted to do. But I'm really happy that you actually didn't fall for it. But with this being said, and now that we heard Tom's story, I would like to know, guys, like, also Tom, um, thanks to all of this that happened, um, like thanks to all of this, like now that you have any protocol, or anyone has any protocol in order like to deal with angry customers. Like for example, I don't know, like I'm thinking if I'm receiving a angry customer, let's say I think that my protocol would be like number one, identify the issue, number two, talk to my team so I can get like all the story first, then talk to the customer, and then based on what happened, if it's on us or on the client, like maybe offer a compensation or something. But I would really like to hear from you guys. Um, Anyone has any protocol for these situations, or you have any steps that you follow?
Um, I've actually been in business for about 18, 19 years. Um, and a lot of things I do is when a customer calls me and they're complaining, the first thing I do is let them talk and tell me everything they need to tell me. After that, I tell them, ma'am, let me pull up your file and I will give you a call back. And what I'm actually doing is pulling up phone records, pulling up invoices, talking to any employees that delivered there. So then that way, when I call her, I understand the full scope of the situation. I'll give you an example. I had a customer. We delivered on this for the 4th of July. We were so busy that we had to start delivering on the 3rd and picking up on the 5th because we were just so busy. So I dropped it off on the 3rd, and my employees picked it back up on the 5th. So the 5th is a Saturday. On Monday, she calls me and says that her some of the kids had scratches on them from the Velcro going down the slide. So she tells me the whole story, and I said, okay. I call everybody, figure it all out, and then I call her back, and I said, okay, so we have no calls showing that there was an issue there, and she's like, well, I didn't know who to call. So when she says that, and in the previous story, she had told me that, and I researched it, and then I told her, I said, well, you called on the, I think it was like the first at this time, then you called on the first again on this time, and then you called on the second on this time, and then we called you on the third on this time, and then you have a contract that has our phone number on there. So when you're saying that you didn't know who to call, you communicated with our office 3 different times, and you have a contract in your hand that has our phone number on there. So then she says, oh well, I talked to the guy when he came to pick it up, and I said, okay, well, so you talked to our lot guy. So she asked, what's a lot guy? I was like, well, you know how you walk into a Home Depot, and if there's a problem, you don't find the guy pushing the shopping cart to tell him the problem. He's the lot guy. You must call the office. You must talk to a manager. You must talk to somebody, inform that. I said, I got teams all over the city. So if there's a problem, as soon as you call me, within 30 minutes, I can have a team there to fix any issue that you have. The problem is you never called me. You never said anything. So you didn't give me the opportunity to fix anything. So by me researching it and talking to the employee and figuring it out, I mean, I don't now, as soon as that happens, right away, they just become blacklisted. I mean, I have so many people that are blacklisted. I have enough customers that the one thing I realize is there's certain people in this world that their whole life is complaining, their whole life is bitching, their whole life is nagging, their whole life is it. I ran into and as soon as I run into a person like that, the first thing I do is blacklist them, because I know no matter what I do is never going to satisfy them. I know that these are the first people that are going to call me to complain, that they're going to call me. If I deal with any customer at all that is there's an issue, it's automatic blacklisted. I'm not worried about it. It's going to be more of a headache for me if I take them and then I have issues later on. So I just save the time.
Yeah, totally. And I also feel like right now the tip that you just gave, we can also use it like in our personal lives, like not only like in business. Like if someone is just like, like being difficult, it's like, just let it go. Like man, like take it. But Steve and anyone that wants to participate, like how have you learned like to not take personal like this type of people? Like how did you learn it? Or any tip that you can give to anyone that is just starting, that maybe takes like things really personal. What's that tip that anyone of you will share? Like, hey, you know what? Like da 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 da. Da.
I don't know about taking anything personal. I realize when I talk to them, I can just see that's the type of people they are. So again, I mean, you can't stop that from happening. In our business, there's always going to be someone looking for something free, something extra to keep it longer. It's just how the industry is. So I mean, honestly, is I can't say I have a ton of patience. I really don't. I'm pretty much I say what's on my mind and I speak it quickly, and I don't deal with any drama. It's my personality. So sometimes, I mean, I do. I've gone to locations like before when I was delivering. I don't deliver anymore, but every once in a while, I get out there to help them when we're really busy. But I delivered one, put a tarp down, and when the tarp's down, I asked them. I said, "Is everything good right here?" The tarp, they see the tarp, they know exactly where it's at. Then we put it up, and then all of a sudden, someone comes out. You know what? I don't like it right there. Can we move it over there? Now it's inflated. Everything's going. I said, yeah, not a problem. It's like $50. And they're like, excuse me? I'm like, this is a 300-pound piece of equipment. It's like, it's not very easy to move it around. That's why I ask you if you want it here. So I've had customers say, well, I'm not going to pay 50. I'm not going to. Okay. And we roll it up and then we walk away. As simple as that. I give them a refund, walk away. And then they're upset. What do you mean? What do you? Doesn't matter. I walk away because here's a simple fact. I already know I'm going to have issues. I know I'm going to have problems. When I set up a tarp, they see it. They know where it's going to go. I explain where it's going to go. I say, hey, this is the entrance. This is where the kids are going to be hanging out at. This is how they enter. This is where they're going to get down on the slide. I go over all of it. And then someone else comes in and says, oh, yeah, the husband's telling me all this. And then the wife comes in and says, yeah, I don't like it there. Move it over there. Yeah, for $50, we'll move it. But other than that, no. And it just, I walk away from a lot of things like that. I think I'm a little bit more short now because I've dealt with things myself, and I've realized I'm not McDonald's, so it's not your way. So it's simple that I go in there and I explain everything as much as possible so they can get a better understanding. But I realize when some people aren't going to be satisfied, I've just never been a person that you can come up to me and just like try pushing me around. And I think they deal with a lot of people like that. So I walk away. I'm like, that's not a problem. I was like, I'll pick it up, we'll take off, and you got a refund. And I walk away. And they're no, hold on, and please leave. I'm like, I'm not leaving anything. I'm like, it's my personality. I don't do it. So in reality, is I think with the years going on, since I've dealt with that more, I'm a little bit more. It's harder for me to put up with some of those things. So my team is out there because my team will put up with a lot of that. My team will sit there because I mean that's their job. I hire them to be nice to the customer. I hire them to do anything. But then if anything happens where I've had one of my employees call me up and they said, hey, this guy's coming out here. He's irate. He's yelling and everything, saying that no, he was just really. So I showed up and I said, excuse me, you don't talk to my employees like that. And I was like, we pulled our equipment. I was like, you don't ever talk to my employees like that. If there's a problem, there's an issue, you call the office, we take care of it for you. And, it's as simple as that. So, but I mean, I don't know if I have patience, so if you're looking for patience, I don't know if I'm the one for that.
Yeah,
Good for
but
you though, for like sticking to your guns. Like that's I feel like very not common in this industry. Not in this industry necessarily, but just in general. I feel like a lot of people are willing to try and keep that customer around. So they're willing to kind of be a little bit of a pushover or just do whatever the customer says in order to keep them around. So good for you, Steve. I think that's awesome. props
Yeah,
to
I
you.
also I think the same. Like I'm gonna quote Swell on this. Like, yeah, totally. Like it's really good that you
Yeah.
actually stick to your values. But I really wanted to ask you, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your tolerance for this type of customers? Like, let's say like number 10 is like that you're a complete Dalai Lama, like everything's good, everything's super chill. Like, how would you rate yourself in this tolerance? And also everybody, like, you can type in the chat, like how would you rate your tolerance on these situations with angry customers?
For me, I mean, my tolerance, I would say I'm at a I'm at a 8, but once I know, where I try being nice to the customer. I'm always polite. I'm always, I get along with everybody. I have no enemies. I get along with everybody. I like to joke around. I like to laugh. When a customer calls me, the first thing they say is, "Man, very professional." He's like, "I've called so many different bounce house companies, and oh my God, you are like the most professional person on the phone." He's like, "I feel confident booking with you guys." And so I've always got that. But again, if you're pushing, because you're trying to play a game, I you won't get past me. I'm not gonna allow that. It's my personality.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I really like it. And we have some responses in the chat. Like we have Maria Thomas, she says she has a 9. So she's really tolerant. Also Tyler Scott, he said, I'm too nice, I'm a 10. Wow, Tyler, I would really love to hear any of your stories. If you're a 10, like I would really love to hear it. And also Soel, probably an 8. Oopsie.
Just a
Okay.
little bit.
I think
Just
I'm an A too. I have a personal policy that kill them with kindness. Actually, yesterday I had a customer that was, at first, she was a sweetheart, and I don't know if you can notice, but I'm Mexican, and I tend to speak really fast. And she was insisting on, if it is rainy, will you still set up the bounce house? And I was like, yeah, we would. But you're recommending to take the kids off the bounce house. And I was like, yeah. And she was getting really mad. And at the end, she was like, can you transfer me to someone I can understand, please? And she was really rude about this. So I was polite, like, of course, my manager is coming in tomorrow, so I'll connect you with her, but we will call you tomorrow. And my policy is kill them with kindness. If they're being rude, it's on them, not on you.
yeah, exactly. I always love quoting Selena Gomez. So
Oh yeah,
she was funny.
I have a days ago that she was like messaging me to get a quote on a water slide. And then when when I messaged them, I responded like, "Well, thank you for reaching out. When is your event date?" And then she respond the date, and then I was like, "Okay." And I told her like to give you like an exact quote or a more accurate quote. Can I have your address? She was like, "You don't need my address. Just give me the quote." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I would love to give you a quote." And I was like, $450. She never responded again. So instead of, I was mad and I was driving, pick up the bounce house with my guy, and then I told my guy, I was like, man, if you want to call and you don't want to give an address, you know what? I don't need your business. I told my guy like that, but then I didn't tell that to the customer. I just checked up the price, and then she never responded again.
Okay, but I have a question for you. I'm not a bounce house business owner, so this is why I'm asking this. You wanted like to know the address so you can have the quote for delivery, and if it's in
Correct.
your area.
Yes, because of some I have a customer that she told me that she live in Greenville, which is my area, but then when we start the quote, she live in Commerce, which is like 30 minutes away from my city. If they in my city, I can that they're gonna be free delivery for sure because I know I set up the radius. But then when we start the code and everything, and she ended up like 30 minutes away, and I told her like, well, you were told me that you in Greenville, but then when we put the address in, you are in Commerce. That we're gonna be like $20 delivery charge. And she's like, oh, okay. She kind of realized that she didn't tell me the truth of the address, and she don't really argue, which is cool. But the customer that I'm talking about here, that when I asked for the address, she was like, no, you don't need my address. You can just give me the code. And I was like, okay, I'll check that over. When the customer being rude like that, I'll be like, you know what? Hey, I don't need your business. I need to, make a living for my business, but I don't need that type of customer. So I can just like jack up the price and then kind of like blow her off in a polite way.
Yeah.
And I really respect my customer. I in fact got a review on a customer that I'm trying to help her out because a single mom and she really, been on a rough time with her relationships and stuff. And she just need and her kid was like in like so much stress of their because of her and her husband. So
Mm.
I'm just trying to, help her out to get a bounce house for her coming up, for her kid birthday coming up soon. And I told her like, look, this is the lowest price that I can do. I give her 20% off. And if you want to, you can do a payment in my system. I have her like a payment. And she's like, yeah, it's nothing I can afford right now. And I'm sorry. And long story short, and I told her like, hey, if you ever come back and you need, a bounce house, just come back and let me know. And she's like, yeah, sure, will do. But she didn't come back. However, she gave me a 5-star review. She's like, this company's like have a very best customer service. Actually, if you go to my website, you can see her review. She gave me 5-star review, and she not even book a bounce house.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Well,
I'm
that's
just
insane.
trying to help and respect my customer as much as possible. But then when the customer approach it, um, unappropriately or in a rude way, I'll just, I I'm trying to stay with the energy. Like, if you come in polite and friendly, I'll, be the same way. But then you come in and rude, then yeah, sure. I will meet up with your energy.
Yeah. No, not like yeah, totally. And look, we have another response in the chat. This is actually a great protocol. Tyler says, I let my wife deal with him mean once. She's the stern one.
That's right.
She's a hard bone.
Yeah, yeah. She's the one that she's the one putting the fire everybody at the house, and she's on the kids and on everybody. I'm the nice one. I'm the easygoing, chill. So
You
I'm new to
play
the
you
industry
play a
though.
good cop and bad cop, eh?
Yeah, yeah, I'm the good cop. She's bad cop.
Yeah. Do you have any
She's
story you would like to share with us?
no, I'm new to the industry. I had my first rental on the weekend last weekend on the
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations. So
I
you
just
had
bought
your
this I just bought that baby right there, and I got another one in the trailer here. Um,
wait, Tyler, thank you so much for making us part of this new process in your life. Like for real, having your first deliveries on one of our webinars like really means a lot to us.
yeah,
And
man.
well, welcome to the industry.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
it's lovely, for real, it's lovely.
Yeah, I come from I was a wholesale real estate wholesaler. I did a lot of real estate for about 8 years now. And honestly, the market kind of went down and I just kind of got burnt out of it. I had teams of 10 people, um, so I've been in business for a while, and I mean customer service is huge, especially in real estate. And when you're making offers 50% of the value of people's houses, you get a lot of mad people at you. So I'm used to dealing with mean customers, and um, I think it'd be pretty easy dealing with a mean customer in this industry. And
Yeah,
I'm kind of lenient. I'm like, yeah, whatever, we'll move it. Like at first, because I need the business, I guess. But that's the cool thing about business. You get to pick and choose who you work with. That's
yeah,
I think
totally, totally.
it's
Like for example, right now at Eden Hawk, like Drake, he has his core values that are like fun, leadership, collaboration, and I always forget about the fourth one. But yeah, like we have our core values, and that's literally what you said. Like, you get to choose which people you're gonna have around, and then you can build a really cool team.
Learning.
And learning.
exactly
It's funny that
exactly.
I forgot that the other core value was learning.
You're
Um,
good.
And yeah, so and right now, Tyler, do you have any like right now that you're just starting, that you're just like going with the flow, do you have any clear refund or cancellation policy, or anyone in here already has it? Because I already heard that Tom said that he charges like $50 per cancellation. Anyone has any cancellation or refund policy whenever it's a angry customer or any like like this weird situations?
I don't because I'm new, but I'd love to hear everybody else's policies and implement them as quick as possible.
Yeah,
I don't have
totally.
any cancellation fees with for us.
But don't let them refund.
For me, I do all anybody cancels, I give them a full refund for me. But I'm
Okay.
extremely busy though, so I don't ever have to like really worry about that. I already know like for the 4th of July, I had like 56 units go out and I had two cancellations.
Mhm.
So when you look at the scheme of things, I'm going to get cancellations all the time. So I'm not worried about it. And those customers that I've canceled and I've given them refunds, they've always called me back. I had a customer call me, booked with another customer, and then they called me and said, "Hey, I was looking. When are we going to for the rest of the information I need to give you?" And I said, "You don't have a booking with me." She went online, looked. She says, "I think I booked with somebody else." So she's like, "I'll call you back." Calls me back, and she lost a $50 deposit, but came with me. So she's like, I'll take the $50 deposit. I like your service. I like the equipment you got. I like how clean it is. She's like, so I'll take the $50. She's like, that's my fault. I should have had your number saved in my phone. I will do it from now on. So she ended up, booking with me. But I get cancellations all the time. I'm not worried about it. Chasing, I don't have, I mean, if, like I said, I had 50 something units go out. For me to sit there and fight and chase two customers and play a game with it, I don't have the time. I was so busy that I left the office and I was out in the field helping and assisting customers. So, and those customers, every customer I think that's ever canceled that I got a refund, I would say 99% of them have come back to me at another time. So they're not upset because most people get upset. You're keeping their money. They paid for something and they're not getting it something and you're keeping it. They get a little bit upset. So since I've had that, like most of my customers I keep.
Yeah, no, totally. Wait, we have another participation on the chat. Carlos says, ask yourself how much is your time and sanity worth. I'm super nice until it's time not to be. Bam. Carlos, have you ever had any situation like this that you would like to share with us? Okay. Uh, okay, so uh, like I also wanted to ask all of you guys, like whenever you have an angry customer, what do you normally do? Like for example, how do you prefer
Argue
like to
with them.
pardon?
Argue with them.
Argue with them, okay? But do you prefer
That's
like
basically
doing
what happened this Saturday to me. I argued with a customer. They were angry, and I just had it with them because IO inflatable office doesn't let you like if a customer puts down 7 and they think you're going to be there at 7 in the morning, when you know and damn well sure their kids aren't going to be up at 7 o'clock or nobody's going to be up there at 7. And when I got to the house, nobody was even there, and they're like, "Oh, we put 7 o'clock for drop off time." I find it kind of crazy when they think that you're going to be there right at those drop off times. Whenever they put it in IO, like, yes, we'd like it at 10, 2, 3, or 1 or whatever. So I find that difficult when I have like, you know, 10 units to get out. So because last Saturday was crazy. This Saturday is going to be crazy with lots of units going out. So, and especially that I have all mega units. I'm making a switch over to mega units. So it's just driving me crazy now. So I don't know. But I've been trying to figure out what I can do with the IO, but there's not too much. I called them and asked them if I could take off the time. I put like 7 to 1 on my website so people know that we drop off bounce houses from 7 to 1. And actually, I'll
Mhm.
probably have to start be putting out some earlier on Friday, just to make sure that everybody gets theirs at a decent time. I figure like by no later than like 12, 1 o'clock is should be pretty good, and then I would just pick it back up the next day at that time. It's just kind of some customers are just like absolutely crazy, and especially
Mhm.
some dude on 4th of July thought I was gonna come at like 11 o'clock or something after the fireworks ended to go come pick it up. I'm not out picking up bounce houses at 11 o'clock at night. I'm in bed sleeping. So I don't know. That just kind of and that was the only customer that I really had that was the only customer I had a problem with on 4th of July. There's always just like one, and he was like that one customer that just wasn't happy that I wasn't coming back that same day to pick it up after fireworks or something, which I don't know, it's just crazy. So
Yeah, sounds crazy. But for these situations where the customer is angry, like how do you prefer to handle it? Over text, call, email, or maybe in person?
well, I'm in person. I'm out in the field. I actually set up all my bounce houses
I'm out there doing it. You know, it's not like I have helpers or I mean I do have one helper, but so and my helpers don't like to be any part of that argument. So, you know, and it's crazy too because some customers will just keep on repeating themselves over and over. And I'm like, dude, I already told you, I'll just take it away. I don't want to deal with you. Like, I'm just done. Like, I don't know. I get like, you know, after you tell a customer the same thing 3 or 4 times and they just don't get it, it just gets kind of annoying after a while. I'm just like, dude, at one point I just went back and I'm like, I'll just take it away and just refund you. And then when you tell them you're going to refund them, and then it takes like 3 to 4 days to refund, they don't get that too. I'm like, dude, I have nothing to do with the refund. That's all about your credit card processing. So however long your credit card takes, that's how long it takes, you know?
So tomorrow, listen.
Yeah,
So
How
totally. Uh, like, yeah, totally, totally. Uh,
Hey, Rick.
finishing?
So I've been listening for a little bit, and I hear some of both sides. And I was always taught that you don't respond to emotions. You know, feelings and facts are going to be different. So when people have a certain emotion, then that's what they're going to listen to, right? When you want somebody to basically feel heard, it's not about what they say, it's about how they feel. So if somebody's upset, you have to acknowledge that they're upset. That's the important part. It's not what happened, it's how they feel about it. And when you acknowledge that they're upset, a lot of times they'll kind of calm down and you can start to make points. But if you just go by fact and you expect that to change their mind, it's not going to happen. Otherwise, there would be no fat people in America because they'd be afraid of diabetes, and there would be no smokers because they'd all be saying, hey, you know, that's not good for my health. But the reality is they're going by how they feel, not by what they think or what the facts are. It's been proven you can give people facts all day long and it won't change their mind. And so, like, when you have an angry customer, about all you can do is acknowledge how they feel. And then after all that has kind of settled, then you can go into the facts. But you also don't charge based on facts. I mean, based on feelings. You charge based on facts. So, like Steve was saying, you know, they want to make a change and they've already okayed it. Then it's like, okay, that's on them. You know, any other industry, you'd put in a change order and you charge them for it. You'd say, it's going to be this much. You're going to have to do this, take care of that. In this industry, it's like, oh, but we want to keep a customer. And it's like, yeah, to a degree. But at some point, you have to say, hey, enough's enough. Too much is plenty. You know, if you've got guys working for you, then their job is just to put the stuff up. It's not to argue with the customers. Like, your job is to protect them from those customers. Like, a good manager, they are the buffer between the people below them and the people above them. So you have to kind of take that into account and say, hey, I want you to do your job. You know, be polite, be personable, do what you can. But if there's any issues, send them to me. And then you have to be the one that draws the line. You know, like I said, at some point, enough's enough. But if you will address that emotion first, a lot of times it doesn't even get to that. You can just say, hey, you know, I understand you're upset. And you can kind of start to look at, is it my fault because I didn't bother asking? Or is it their fault because they said, oh, yeah, that's fine, let's put it there, and then they changed their mind? And that's where the differences really come into play. But if you start with that, you're never going to get anywhere. But if you start by dealing with the emotion first, then I think that's the real key to handling an upset customer. Chris Voss even talks about that in his book, Never Split the Difference. And I think that's a really good book.
That's a great book.
Yeah. So,
guys, I just
Definitely
really feel like
agree
if I'm in therapy.
most of the time, you know, pretty much piggybacking back onto what Lane said, most of the time when what I've realized dealing with customers, when I'm not going to say necessarily that they're so angry, but you know, people are constantly being scammed. Let's be real. There's scammers everywhere in every industry, right? So, Dan, like, people are very weary whenever, for example, like I have some of my posts marketplace or whatever, and sometimes I get customers from there too. So I get more of that, like, I guess we'll call it angry, like cautious, very, very like you don't need my address type of people, right? Through Facebook Marketplace. And the way that I've learned that works for me the most is is like Lane said, you address their feelings first, right? That makes them feel seen. It makes them feel like, okay, you actually care. So, when you address their feelings first, you're kind of like easing the whole situation down, because then you let them have their feelings, let them feel what they're feeling, and then, like he said, you hit them with the facts, right? So once you've kind of um settled the fire pretty much, then that's when you can actually have an actual conversation with the person, because when they're emotional and they're trying to, oh, but this is that and third, whatever, you can't even get. So you kind of have to let them go through the process of feeling their feelings, and then you can try to handle the situation and try to see if there's anything that can be done to kind of save it.
Yeah, totally. Guys, if I'm really honest with all of you, I feel like this is therapy. Like enough is
I was
enough.
about to say that.
Listen to the feelings. Like I don't know. I feel like if I'm in therapy just talking like, oh my God, it's just like my exes are rude to me.
I was gonna say I got to give everybody credit, because in my head, all I can think is I'm not your counselor, and I don't need to listen to your problems and your issues when these customers are getting all upset, and I'm just I can't. It's very hard for me to deal with that. Like I said, it, when you're when they come to me, they've bought things from stores before. They've rented things before, so they know how everything works. They understand how it works, and I think they think that a lot of these things, because there's some people that just run it as a small hustle. So you're not new to this, like I know to walk into a church and I understand it's time to be quiet and it's time to be respectful. You understand that. So there's protocol for everything you do. So when I deal with a customer that's like that, the first thing I think was, and they're upset. And I know a lot of guys are saying, hey, listen to it. And it's great that they are able to. I just, in my head, I'm just like, I'm not anybody's counselor. I don't have to listen to anything. I'm walking. It's just my personality. They've bought from people before. I mean, how can you go and I don't call a Walmart and say, hey, you're selling this for $50. Can I get it for 45? So don't call me and do the same thing. That's just my personality. I've always been that way.
Yeah,
Steve, I grew up in the hood,
exactly.
and that was common, man. I see people arguing at the checkout counter. Come on, let me get a discount. This got a hole in it, man. And they're like, yeah, you just poked that in there.
Yeah.
Mm.
I see my boy Carlos Fierro that he wants to talk. Carlos, I'm so excited to hear you.
Hey, Rick. So first of all, sorry when you called on me. I was like in the middle of something. I'm trying to flip the phone and it's falling on me, and I'm like, oh crap! I must look like a jerk. But yeah,
No,
man,
no, no,
sorry.
don't worry. Don't worry. You didn't look like that, like for
Yeah,
real. Nothing at all.
Lane, stop it. I know that you're thinking that, Lane. All right. No, hey, listen. Uh, what I put there is true. I mean, I come from a service background, like I was trained by, Cirque du Soleil and stuff like that, and they have like people are the on a pedestal and things. But one thing that they also teach you is like, there's a limit. How they're so good at customer service and all that stuff is that they have all their systems in place before a problem arises. So everything is in writing. Like, okay, once we situate this here, then it stays here. If for whatever reason you need to move it, that'll be a $50 charge. It's written there. It's there beforehand. Why? Because it's happened before. So they know already something that might happen. And if something happens that's new, then they're going to put it into their systems for the next time. And that way you just keep creating your systems so that you show that to the people and you're super nice about it. You're like, yeah, absolutely. You think that because the sun is setting on this side, yeah, we would love to move it over there. Unfortunately, if you read it in the contract, it's going to be a $50 charge because whatever. You can say whatever, it's per hour that I have to pay the employees. Now they have to stay longer to move that, and whatever it is, and you're nice about it. And I agree with Lane that you have to, acknowledge that they're feeling something, but the acknowledgement doesn't mean that they're right. Like, okay, yes, I acknowledge that you're pretty upset because you think that it should be free for us to move that. But unfortunately, that's what it says on our contract. And you're stern and you're firm about it. You're nice, but you're firm. So you don't get into an argument. You don't, like somebody's screaming at you and whatever, you're not gonna, get bigger in front of them, but you get stern. So yeah, I acknowledge you're upset. I know you would love it over there. And if you would have told us that before, we would have put it over there. But just the main thing is have systems beforehand. That avoids a lot of trouble. I've had like very few angry customers in all my lifetime of work, um, in both companies, in the service company and in the new one that I'm doing, with OFX. Very, very little, because there are a lot of systems already in place. So that would be my 2 cents about this.
Hey, foam guy.
What phone guy?
Hey, do you do the letters too or no?
Do I do what?
Do you do the letters?
What letters?
They were doing a new thing I saw at like some show where they were throwing, like, you put like a piece of cardboard, or it looked like, I don't know, they had some kind of special thing, maybe it was a little bit better, but they put like an R, then an R would fly up in like a foam shape, or like an L,
Oh
or
yeah, I have that, but it's not through OFX. I have that in my own company. It's helium infused foam. So you have that inside of a container, and out on the top you have a stencil, so you can do whatever it is that you want. And I have like companies that want to do their logos, and I do that, but it's like totally different from doing regular foam. It's totally different.
okay.
Yeah, talking about their feelings, sometimes they think you're the therapist. On my first week working with bounce houses, we gotta have bounce house rental for a funeral. So it was totally weird, but also the lady that was renting it was really sad over the phone, and yeah, it's for, I think it was an aunt or something, funeral. And I was like, who rents a bounce house for a funeral? But okay, I'll listen to you. Many times not because they're angry, they just want to chat with someone. And I think it's part of the service that hear them out and talk to them, not all the time, but just to let you know that you notice their feelings or their concerns or something else, not only when they're angry.
Yeah, and I would say it's not so much just playing therapist. Like, you just want to acknowledge what they've said. You want them to feel heard, because once they feel heard, they're like, oh, they know how I feel. Now maybe we can have a conversation.
And that goes hand in hand even with like sales, for
Totally.
example, like
Yeah.
just sales in general, regardless of the industry. If someone tells you, I feel this way, I have this problem and it makes me feel this way, you acknowledge that feeling, and you kind of, it just makes them feel better in general because you're hearing them, you're listening to them. That's all people want at the end. Well, not all people want. Some people want a free bounce house and that just ain't it. But most people just want to be heard and listened to. And so that goes hand in hand, like I just said, with sales in almost every industry, just acknowledging and just repeating back, almost just repeating back what they just said to you. Like, I hear that you're upset. I understand why you're upset because X, Y, and Z. However, and then you proceed. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to piggyback off that a little bit.
They just
Yeah,
want to tell
and
you their sad story. Last week, I got a booking for a tent, but the lady had to tell me the whole story that her sister died and it was her nephew's wedding and she had to pay for it. And she could just quote the tent, but she had to tell me her whole sad story.
and
Sometimes
I've
that's
watched.
why I avoid talking on the phone with people. Sometimes I'd rather just have the conversation stay through text, because through text nobody really wants to type a whole paragraph and explain their whole backstory. But when you're on the phone, people just get
Yeah,
comfortable.
It
you
was
would be
via
surprised.
email. It
You
wasn't a
would be
phone
surprised
call.
by text.
Yeah,
They'll take their time and they'll
it,
write.
it was via
And oh
email.
God, God.
Oh, what? Oh man. Oh
Oh yeah,
god.
yeah, yeah. I had this lady that are my kids and I. They helped me with the customer service through the text, and oh my God, this lady was paying like nothing. She had like the smallest package in the world, but she kept on texting her whole story. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and hopefully this family helps me pay for it, and this and that, and blah 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 blah. I'm like, why are you taking, your time to write all this? So yeah, don't think that they don't text. They'll do that to you also.
Well, you got voice to text now, so it's just as easy to talk to it as it is to type it. So might as well, man, talk to the phone if you're lonely. But I noticed, like, Zoelle, I've read through a lot of her stuff, and the stuff that I've seen is it's a really good job of preparing expectations, kind of like Carlos was just talking about. When you set those expectations from the front end, there's less that they can really hold against you because they're like, oh, well, yeah, I understand that. But usually where people get upset is when they expect one thing and then something else is happening. And then they're like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be like that. And that's when they get upset with you. And that's where having your stuff already pre-done really helps, because you can say, hey, I've gone through this. I know this. So I'm going to check. And then once you've done that, you can do exactly what Steve did and be like, hey, you said this, it's going to cost you to move it. You are the one, it's on your shoulders now. It's not, well, you assumed that of us and we didn't clarify that. It's clearly on you. So now ball's in your court, that kind of thing.
100%, Lane, because I've actually had recently I had a customer who she was going to book, but on my website, for some of you, y'all don't know, but I just had a baby. I got pregnant during the off season, and then I gave birth in April, which was like a month or two after, bounce house season really started for us over here in Georgia. So I did have a girl who reached out, and she was like, hey, I want to get this bounce house, this, that, and the third. And she sent the quote. I told her, okay, go through the website. And it's crazy because I sent her the flyer because I have my own personal flyers that I post on my social medias. They're not obviously on the website. On the flyer, it does state that I charge, $2.50 per mile after my 10-mile radius delivery charge. And it also did state setup was not included. So when she went through the website, because I had not updated it yet, I had honestly completely forgotten to even update my website with those charges that I started. And she went through the website. On the website did not have those charges. So when she called me afterwards and told me, hey, I picked out the one that I want, I sent the quote in. And once I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, let me, inform you.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So, guys, we have made it to the last minutes of this roundtable, and there's a question that I've been craving to ask to all of you. How do you handle whenever you receive like a bad review online? Like, yeah, like what do you do? Like, do you talk to Google, like try to get that removed? You talk to any of your friends so they can leave like a
Has
five
anybody
stars?
ever actually
So
got a
that's
Google
okay.
I
Has
sent
anybody
somebody to visit them.
Oh, Carlos decided to choose violence.
No.
Open a bottle of wine.
Okay, so we have opening a bottle of wine, sending someone to visit them.
I,
Anyone has anything else?
I think it's really a two-parter. First, you need to deal with the person and find out if there's something you can do to fix that situation, because sometimes they don't give you an opportunity. They just run out there, and then if you can do, and if you can't, then you deal with Google and you go say, hey, this is a problem here. This is what actually went on. I need to get this removed. That kind of thing.
Yeah, has anybody ever
Oh,
actually got a Google review removed? I don't think so. They're
I
pretty
don't.
Yeah, you
straightforward.
can get them removed easy, man.
You
I think,
can?
yeah. Let me know how that works out. Has anybody ever actually got one removed?
Yeah,
You have yourself,
yeah. There's ways. You just go in and you
but you
dispute
have
the
yourself, sir.
review,
You have.
huh?
You've
Yeah,
got really.
yeah.
Oh, because they're
It's
so like
it's
sticklers. I tried talking to them, and they've taken down my profile 20 times and put it back up, and I don't know what's going on, but
yeah. No,
that's
you have to
I
you
only
have to show that there's reason for it. It's not just you did crappy service. I mean, but if you can go in and show, hey, this is the issue. This is why they're upset. I've even had them where they've put reviews on my stuff. Like I run storage facilities, and I've had them put them on my storage facility for another facility down the road. Not even the same name. It's just on the same street. And so, like, if you can go in and show, hey, this was never my customer, I don't know who this person was, or you can show, hey, they were upset. They said that we had this problem and we didn't have this problem. We've never had this problem. Here's our receipts, because I've had people complain about rodents, and it's like, man, I have this place treated twice a month. I don't have any issues. And they're like, oh yeah, you've had this and that. And you show them pictures of their unit. It's like, no, there's no way. And so you can get them removed. Now in the bounce house industry, I don't know, that may be a little bit harder because you got to have more proof, but you definitely can get them removed.
See, I have a 4.9. In the 18 years, I've only had one bad review, and it was a customer calling saying, "Do you service Dogwood Park?" And I said, "Yeah, we do it all the time." And the guys went there, and there's three different pavilions. They ended up renting the pavilion that doesn't have an outlet and that you can't put a bounce house there. So my guys couldn't set up. So when the owner or the person that rented called me, and I said, I apologize. I said, but they only have one. Did you tell the park that you wanted to rent a bounce house? Because if you didn't tell them that, then they're just going to give you any pavilion. There's only one that they use that has an outlet. So they were upset, and they just put on there that the owner lied to me, bad customer service, and that was it. I didn't even respond to it. I didn't even do anything. So I have one bad review out there. But again, there's nothing. I didn't do anything. They never told the park they were going to rent a bounce house. So the park just gave them one of the pavilions. They just decided to rent it on their own, and gave me a bad review, and I wasn't worried about it. So I just didn't know you could get rid of them though.
Yeah, and two, everybody shoots for 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. But the reality is your customers don't want solid 5 stars because when they look at that, that feels scammy. If they see you've got 4.9, they're like, okay, this is a legit business. They've had some issues. They've dealt with it. They moved on. They're solid. But when you're showing a solid 5-star, especially if you don't have very many, it makes you look like, oh, I don't know if I can trust these guys. They bought these reviews online or, whatever. So it's not as bad as you think. I think I read a thing today, actually, that said most customers believe it is a good company as long as it's between 4.2 and 4.8. Like that's what they're shooting for. They trust it more than a 5-star.
Wow. I didn't know that. Like for real. Feels really good like to join this round tables and learn a lot from you guys. You're all so smart. Um but yeah. So guys, it looks like we have made it till the end of this round table. For real, it was amazing hosting today's table. To be honest, it also felt a lot like therapy. Um so I'm taking a lot of this not only like whenever I'm working, also for my personal life. But well, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you everybody that participated, that listened. Literally, thank you everybody for just being amazing. See you next week. And again, my name is Ricardo, and I was your host today. So see you later, guys.
Bye bye, guys. Nice to meet you.
Bye bye.